I'm live. Hello. Hello, 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 everyone. Let's just get some more light on here. There we go. I need one of those little light thingies. Those little light thingies. I don't know what they're called. When you do uh, a light ring, that's what it's called. I need a light ring. So that's one of the things I'd love to get is a light ring. Give me a little bit more highlights and um, but this isn't too bad. This is pretty good. So the one thing, I thought my lipstick was brighter, but it's good. It's not overly stated. Happy Good Friday. Do you say Happy Good Friday? I don't think you'd say, but it's Good Friday today. So today is a very sacred, blessed day for many people around the world, and about the crucifixion of Christ. And I think this is really, also a day that is bringing in a lot of transformation and changes that are needed within the world. And there's some interesting, um, interesting, I don't know, energies that have come in. A few things that I found very interesting. Very interesting. That's my word today. It's interesting. But one is on the new I came across an article about the United States government mentioning about how they can bend time. So they have a time bending machine. Now, this came out when Neptune and uh, Mercury were conjunct, and this information came out. So it's very otherworldly, you know? And with that information coming forward. Now, it is, with that Mercury with Neptune, what's the full truth of this? What's the full implications of it all? And it's in Aries. And this is where a lot more information is going to be coming out on strange factors. Now, the thing is that it wasn't mainstream news. It just wasn't like in the front. It just sort of like it was a gentle rollout, which I found very interesting to that. All right, so this just uploaded for me. So now I can go live here. So I found that an interesting fact. Also, we had here in Canada, yeah, oh Canada. So in Canada, we had the debate yesterday, and I was watching the debate with my husband, and I watched it via Fry, and found it very interesting. It was a very good debate. I was quite impressed by the block and his stance and what he stood for, and he was very up for it. He answered the questions, and he was very good at coming back with rebuttals. I found that very well. Pierre overall, I think, really did win it. Carney couldn't answer some questions, and there were some really harsh questions that were answered. I was impressed, may I say, with the NDP, with Jagmeet, with the question that he did ask Carney, and asking him about his companies and that, and his taxes and things like that. I found that very interesting. So most of the questions that were asked of Carney, they came out. He was called out on a lot of things, and he didn't like that. He has a way of like sort of like almost like clenching his ass when he's being asked something. Just like you just know that he's just like. "Mm." So that was very interesting. Good morning, Char. That came out in it as well. So there were some really good questions that were being asked and being put in. Pierre did come out. He had a really good statement. He really answered the questions thoroughly. The one part I didn't like is that they should have muted Jagmeet Singh's mic, which because he kept being a little chirper throughout the whole thing, which was very, very annoying because the main person that he chirped on was Pierre Poilievre. He wasn't chirping at anyone else. Like he was like, and you could see how he was really wanting to nuzzle up to the Liberal Party. So to keep his I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think he's losing his riding right now. So it's interesting to see how things will transpire through the whole thing. Polls are open right now, and they're open. The advanced polls are open all weekend, so I- um I mean, that's awesome for that, for this whole Easter weekend. So happy Easter. I can say happy Easter for this. This is really, I find it funny because it's like Good Fridays, I find, are usually cloudy. Are usually cloudy, and then they get brighter during after 3 o'clock. So, and it's usually at 3 o'clock is the time of silence when you are with the crucifixion of Christ. So there is, I find this weekend quite interesting. Some of the, I was just listening to a podcast, and I got to figure out, he is a bishop in, he's a bishop in Australia, and he's had death threats and everything against him. Um, he is quite outspoken, he's a very well-spoken person. And Bishop Mara, I think his name is. Let me see. Bishop Mari Emmanuel. He is from Australia. And take your pen, take your pens. You're funny. Um, Bishop Mari Emmanuel. I think that's very is his name. He's in Australia, and he's had death threats. He's even had somebody try and kill him while he was on saying mass, and go up and stab him. He speaks, when you listen to him, it really makes sense. I mean, he's a very well educated man. He is a theologian. He and he comes with love. He comes with love. Like he really is coming, but he comes with facts. And that's where we're at. We're coming to a time where you're coming up with facts. There was also a because of the new law that passed that said women are women um in the UK, which is like, okay, yeah, so we need a law to tell us that who we are, right? So there was a debate in on a broadcast in the United States, and they invited this one transgender to have this conversation. I mean, the commentator couldn't even ask um he, her, whatever it was. I'm going to say he because it has a dingle dangle questions, right? Could not ask those questions, like would not even, and got up all upset. It was almost like that person staged it all in order to make a scene, so that they could get more views and stuff like that. It was quite interesting. So it's like coming in and having to face facts. And that's where, that's the um Venus, Saturn, North Node energy in Pisces is really getting us to look at things in, even though it's Pisces and Pisces is mutable, but this is like really getting us to look at and upgrade our values, look at the things that are truth. And that's the whole thing. It's like when you have to look at things truthfully, there are, but people want to feed in other little factors and other little scenarios of of what they feel is truth, and get away from the true essence of truth. And that's where we're coming into. And that's where, when people get upset, when new facts come in that might be a new truth or added on to that truth, debunk it. And this is where you have to sort of take a step back and really, really hold it in and say, okay, let me look at this. Let me feel this a little bit deeper. And I may not like what you're saying. I may not like the way that you are saying it, but I need to look at all points of view of it, because this person's coming from this point, this person's coming from this point. I have my point. I need to take that information in and look at it. So there's a lot of stuff going on right here. There's a lot of life stuff that's happening. And I find it interesting, going back to what you right now about the time travel and the tech advancements. And I said that there's going to be some really crazy news coming out, and time space altering. So there's a lot of intensity that's coming out with new news that's coming in. And we have to sit back and find out, is this truth, or is this something else that is coming forward? So we're beginning, that opposition with Mars and Pluto, and that Mars and Pluto opposition, both of them real Scorpio. And Scorpio is intense. There's an intensity in Scorpio. Scorpios bring in passion, but they also bring in violence and they bring in bombs, right? So there's that intensity, that explosion that can easily happen with this Mars and Pluto opposition. Opposition aren't harmonious. They're in opposition, right? So there's an opposition that's coming in and happening, and it's going to be with us for a little bit because Mars isn't up to full speed, and Pluto really doesn't move very fast, and plus he's slowing down to go retrograde. So this is really looking at, okay, I need to come into a place of groundedness. I need to come into a place of understanding and not be so volatile. I can't talk too much because when I talk too much, my throat was fine, but as I talk, it starts to get sore. I got notes too. I got notes. So, and it's important. It's important for us to really look at what are we searching for, and are we over searching? Like, are we getting too like, oh, I gotta find out all of this information instead of allowing for the divine wisdom to come in and guide us, right? Because we can get very much in the ego right now. And thank you. And get very much in the ego. So really watching that ego energy come in, and because we can get over obsessive, become over obsessive with things. And this is where it's, to have um maybe where we that over obsessiveness can bring in a little bit of suppression, and then we're not allowing for that universal guidance to come in, which is to not get in the way of the north node. The north node is wanting to lead, wanting to show us something new, wanting to show us and bring us into that new guidance. But are we like, no, I want to do it this way kind of thing, and be staunch and stomping our feet like a 3-year-old? So the system's shedding. So there's a lot of shedding that's happening. There's a lot of things that they're moving to the wayside, and higher vibrations are coming in. And this is to really uplift us, to really take us to a new place, to a new energy, to a new platform. And the sun is going to be moving into Taurus this weekend. So it's going to be amplifying a lot of that Uranus energy, and we're going to gain the confidence because things have been feeling very slow. I mean, we've had Mars go retrograde. Was it? Oh my God! I think it was back in September, November, October, November. Back out last year, at the end of last year, with Mars in Leo. Then it only went up to 6 degrees, and it went retrograde. And then it's been sitting in Cancer for some time. And that Cancer energy for Mars is difficult. It wants to move forward, but it can't move forward. It can't do what it wants to do. It can't move in the direction it wants to move in. So this is bringing in and sparking, wanting us to spark interest. This is where it's like, okay, we've been in a place that has been very slow moving, digging out, digging the trenches, digging those new ways, and it just feels like we have not made it very far. it um, there's a show from England, and it's called Time Team. If anybody's from England, they'll know what I'm talking about. Time Team is archaeologists that go, and they have 3 days to dig up a space to find things. And sometimes, and they have to dig trenches, right? So they have one guy going out to find out where's a good spot, with his little machine. He goes up and down to find out, mapping out the area to find out where's a good area to dig. And sometimes when one spot they dig, they're like, okay, we're finding nothing, and they get the grader in, and to come in and grate, and they can, very slowly dig up, and they can usually tell within the first few inches if there's something. But sometimes it's like, no, we got to dig a little bit deeper, depending where in history they're looking and how deep you have to go. And but sometimes they can still dig deep, and they're just like, okay, we're really not getting anywhere in this way. We got to fill up that, and we got to dig a new trench. That's kind of like how we're feeling. It's like, okay, you know what? I need to step away from this trench. I need to step away from this place because I'm really not finding what it is that I need to find. And I have to accept that. And sometimes accepting that is difficult because we are like, no, it has to be here. It has to be in this trench, right? And you can see, when I watch Time Team, and I'm watching them, and you get some of these archaeologists, they're arguing with one another. It's like, no, I know there's something there. While the evidence is showing that there isn't anything here right now. And that's could be you and your ego arguing back and forth, and your intuition saying, no, there's nothing left. We got to move in this new direction. You're like, no, I need to move. So that's how I see the energy. And this is where it's like, the messages that could be coming out to, and especially when the messages that are coming out could be lies, right? So we have to have that discernment as well. And looking at that discernment, when I was listening to Emmanuel today, and he was on a broad podcast, it was, the way that he was bringing the information, and he was talking about identity and the essence of identity, and how we are losing our identity. And I'm just like, oh my God, that hit home, because I so much of about women and our identity is getting lost because we are being re-identified as something that we're not, or we're being told that we're something that we're not. And now we need a court of law to tell us that we are what we truly are. So there's that essence of losing that identity. And this is where, because the essence of the female, the essence of who we are, is not is the feeler, is the intuitive one. And a lot of times, as being a woman, it gets pushed away, or like, stop your crying, or stop being so self-centered, or tidy up there, look, you got to look neat, you got to look good, before you go out. There's so much within our identity as women. We're thrown with so many things at us, and I feel like our identity is being wiped. And this is coming in, we're coming back into that Venus energy with Saturn in Pisces, in looking at our truth of who we are, looking at that karma that is being held there, right? That karma that of being a woman, right? The essence of that, and coming in where we have to say, we can't stand on the sidelines anymore. We can't just allow someone to say, hey, I'm a woman because I feel it. No, that's nice. I That's good. But in essence, in truth, you are not. And a lot of people don't want to hear that because their feelings are going to get hurt. Because that's not what I identify with. And it's like, no, but you can identify as whatever, but the identity, the truth of the identity, and the essence. And this is where this is coming in. This is where, this frequencies of us moving into a higher vibration is saying, no, I'm stepping into the truth of what is that essence. I could go into that trench and look for whatever. I can look for whatever, but it's not there, and fill it with whatever hollow identity, or whatever we want to fill it with. But the truth was, it's not there. But we are wanting to hang on. Some people are wanting to hang on to that essence. And it's the same way with what's happening in the world around us. One of the questions I found very interesting, that was asked, I don't think it was asked last night, it was asked a couple days ago by a reporter, and I think it was the alternate reporter asked, how, as a government, we are here to allow for everybody to have their self-expression. As a government, this is a but yet you are not doing the protection that is needed upon Christians. But you're protecting everything else. So what is your stance on that? As you know, for freedom, as a country that has freedom, you're not allowing that truth and that essence of those of their beliefs, where you're allowing for over 200, or is it 300 churches across Canada have been burnt or vandalized. That's not, but if it happened to a mosque, oh my goodness, it would be front page news. It'd be all over the place and like, oh my God, that's like a genocide. But they're not speaking about the other side. And that's where, again, this is the uplifting. This is where coming into the truth. That's the truth that people don't want to see, because there's like that, oh, but they did this and this and this and this. And they're like, okay, but have you gone into history and looked at the other side of what they did? We can go tit for tat all day. But this energy is coming in to lift us up and say, hey, there is a respect and an honor that needs to come in here. There's a truth that needs to come in here. A truth. And I find that very very interesting. And I find that, especially since this is Good Friday, on that truth of that essence of what it is. And I mean, I was listening to this morning, I was listening to some of my prayers, but they were talking about the crucifixion of Christ today. And in saying that, in him coming up into his trial, with that trial with them when they are going to crucify Christ, it had to be proven that he was unblemished. Because in the Jewish religion at that time was Passover. In the Jewish religion, it was like you have to have an unblemished lamb for sacrifice, right? So they had to prove, in everything that they did, they proved that Jesus was unblemished. He was the sacrificial lamb. And Barnabas, the name Barnabas means, I think, oh, hang on, I should have wrote this down. The son of encouragement, meaning prophecy or encouragement, the son of consolation. So Barnabas being the son of consultation, like the son of encouragement. And he was the one who was set free over Jesus. So I just found that, anyways, interesting. I can't explain more of it because I'm not a theologian, and the way it was explained to me at the time, and I was listening to it, like, yeah, it makes so much sense. And then it just, I'm bad. I'm bad. Some things that's why I write a lot of stuff down, because sometimes my brain is like, yeah, I love that. And then when I want to go back and explain it to people, it just like goes out the window. But it was just that feeling was there. Anyways, that essence. So let's pull some cards. So, but yeah, I think today's a day to really allow yourself to get into that Christ consciousness and get into the essence of the vibration, and looking at the crucifixion. It's been proven that it did happen. I mean, historians have gone back and they've shown that, yes, this did happen. Yes, there was a man named Jesus at that time, and he did die at 33. So there's evidence there to prove it. Now, whatever the evidence is after that, and in your beliefs and believing that, is he the Son of God? This is where, of looking at, why would God become man? We can get into the theology of that. But in order for us, and we're going back to the identity of what identity is, and that identity of the essence of to become man is to become in a relationship A relationship with who? You want to become a relationship with your family, the family of God, the family of his people, and to come into that relationship. It's not like a relationship with a dog or a cat and everything else. And I know people get upset with me when I say that, is that your relationship with a dog is totally different than a relationship with the essence of the truth of the identity of a human, and to come into that energy. Although a lot of people today, and that's that again, I'm going to state it, that a lot of people are putting animals above humans, or they're put that relationship above others, and I think it's wrong. And that's my own belief system. I love animals, don't get me wrong. I love my dog, I love my cat, I love my animals, but I don't put them above my family, that identity. And that's the crucial part of the energies that are coming in. And because if you do, then the identity gets wiped and the essence gets wiped. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Anyways, maybe we can do some more discussing on that. If anybody wants to discuss that, I'd have to do a little bit more research on, and not just, I'll have to do more research on that. So here we go. The devil card. So I laugh. Ha, ha, ha. So the devil card, don't get caught up in this mundane world. Don't get caught up with your attachments, with everything that you are attached to. Don't get caught up in it all. It's like, it's nice to have beautiful things. It's nice because some of the beautiful things that I have around me, yeah, they make me feel good. There's a beauty around them, and I love them, but it's not to get attached to them. Ooh, that's my Journey Club. That really brought up a lot in Journey Club when I said to people not to get attached. The reason that the movement came in where people started choosing their animals was because humans suck. Do they suck? And their animals were dedicated to them. So that's how the mentality went. But who said humans suck? I mean, humans, there's a lot of bad dogs and cats and everything else, but that's the whole thing. That is like, that's a perception of saying, okay, if we're saying that all humans suck, or if humans suck, what are you saying about your own self? What is that identity? What is that identity of the human and the essence? Because the thing is that and that's where you can get into a lot of diversions and everything else that go along with that, and confusion, because it comes down to an essence of where we have to come into a place of love, and come into a place where we can accept, but it's a hard one. I mean, we as humans have a hard way of doing it, right? And I know a lot of people replace their, that love that they did not receive from somebody, a human, they replace it with an animal. And which I understand, I can see that, but in essence, it's like whatever went wrong there is where the healing has to begin, and where we have to step into that healing. And it's coming in like in a non-judgmental, loving, very humble way. And that's where, when we step into the Christ consciousness and the attachments that we have, is that we have to move into a higher frequency, a higher frequency of allowing for that love, and um seeing with fresh eyes. And in seeing with those fresh eyes, we step into a new world, you know and in stepping into that new world, and the thing is, we could step into the world with the devil, because things are changing. This is the end. It's our choice. It's our choice as humanity of where we are going to step into. We could step into the idea, to bring in the idols. I mean, the whole thing about those women going up into space, idols, idol worship, with all, with those who've come in, those that went up there, and look at who is waiting for them at the base, are all people who are idol worshipers. They were, their essence, or their fame, their way to fame is everything that they own, right? and how they perceive themselves, right? So I mean, that's the world of the devil, you know. But how are we coming into this world? Whew. Three major arcana. It's the magician. So there's a trickster at play with this all. There's a trickster. The magician is a trickster. He's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is a trickster. Not everything Mercury says is truth. Not everything that comes from Mercury is truth. So that's why you got to come in with discernment, come back in with fresh eyes and take a look at things that are going on in this world. And the astrology is showing that there is, where we are coming in, where we are needing to clearing the space, dusting things off. We're coming into a time, and we can sort of feel it, where, the government came in and said that they're bending time and having, time bending, time and space bending. How freaky is that? But we got to come into the embodiment of who we are and have our embodiment, our needing to be in, desperation too, of grabbing onto, especially our own persona, grabbing onto that truth of that essence of the embodiment of who we are as human beings, who we are as connectiveness. And we have to make those choices. Sometimes things that come out my mouth amaze me. Have a blessed day, everybody. And may the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you and all you say and all you be and all you do. Sending out blessings to the world, sending out peace and love and joy and happiness to all. And have a very, very happy Easter. Blessed be everybody. Bye-bye.